What's good, YouTube? It's Really Foxy here, and I got a updated deck profile for Performage Pendulum, or PePe, or Performage, or whatever the hell it's called. I just call it Performage, really. Or Clown Bros, which either works. Uh, so yeah, the last time I did a deck profile for this was like right when the deck came out, right after like the Dimension of Chaos sneak. Gone through, I don't know how many changes it's gone through since then. I've tried a bunch of different things working, and the conclusion I've reached is like I put the Brilliant Fusion engine in because that was something I was considering, and then uh, I just realized the more I played with it that it was just really good because Brilliant Fusion could just be like so much of a blowout when it resolved that it was kind of worth the potential brick. And I guess everyone at ARG Anaheim thought the same thing because there were 10 Performage decks in the top 16, 11 if you count the Magic Spectre one, and all of them played Brilliant Fusion. So I guess I made the right decision on that. And yeah, pretty much there was that. But one thing, there was one thing about the Anaheim builds that I didn't like, that was the conclusion I reached today when I took this to my like locals where I live when I'm not in college because our Yu-Gi-Oh scene revived. And I took this to that locals and I played it and I went undefeated today. So yeah, and I played against Cosmo, then Magispector, Gradle, and then the Mirror. And I 2-0'd all of them except for the Gradle because I bricked game 2. I mean, it's whatever. And yeah, so I guess the best way to do it is just like go into the deck. So yeah, let's just get into it. Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty similar to my original draft in that I kind of just went back to that concept because I think while it had the issue of a lot of moving parts, it also was very flexible in what it could do. And I felt like the Anaheim builds were kind of like very like pendulum or bust, or like they turboed to the Luster Pendulum combo, but if you couldn't get to it, you just couldn't really play, and I didn't like that. And I like that the original draft that my roommate and I thought of, it had really strong rank 4 plays regardless of whether or not you got pendulum scales going. So yeah, so let's get into it. So for the pendulum monsters, obviously 3 Luster Pendulum. That's obvious. Why is this card $45? That's just wondering. I got these for 6. 1 Vector Pendulum. I kind of just put him in because I picked one up from a friend of mine, and I picked up another one today. By selling my Dimension of Chaos mat, I have another mat again. This is the ARGDC mat that I did not pick up when I went to ARGDC, and I felt like an idiot for doing that, so the other locals I normally go to had it, so I just bought it, but I digress. So I just kind of put Vector Pendulum in just because I wanted to have another low scale. Glare in my room. And I guess like Vector Pendulum, I mean he's an 1850 beater, so that's nice, and he can, in like Pendulum mirrors, you can just put him in the scale and stop your opponent from going off, which is cool. And then like you can dump him with Armageddon Knight or Foolish Burial and just revive him with like Mass Chameleon or Instant Fusion, so there's some neat stuff. It doesn't really come up that often, but overall I just ran them because I had the slot. And I just wanted another low scale. So yeah, that's pretty much why I put them. I cited them out a couple times. So yeah. And then 3 Mirror Conductor. I definitely, when I first made this deck, I was only playing 2 because I failed to realize that this card plus Ragnar Zero is insane. And once I realized that, I just instantly maxed this to 3. Also, it makes it so it works a lot better with Luster Pendulum. Just having more copies in your deck. 3 Plush Fire, obviously. And then 1 part Naga. Ended up cutting a Lizard Draw because you almost are never in a situation where you need to use it. Because it's really easy to get to the high skills. It's the low skills that are a bit harder. Which is why, like, that's why I put in Vector Pendulum. And it's kind of, there's 11 Pendulum monsters. And it's a 6-to-5 ratio of high versus low, which is like I guess good enough. I could like put in another Vector Pendulum, but I don't really think there's a point in doing so. So yeah, that's the Pendulum monsters. For others is 3 Damage Juggler, 2 Trick Clown. Yeah, the 2 does come up fairly often, so I do like having 2 of them. 1 Hat Tricker, and then 1 Mask Chameleon. This card, oh my god, this card's really good. Like, it's like really good and really bad at the same time, just because like as a monster it's actually like really terrible because like you can revive something because there's a lot of 0 defense monsters in this deck, So you can revive something, but then you're locking yourself out of all non-extra deck special summons for the turn. So in that regard, it's pretty bad. But then at the same time, the fact that it's a searchable level 4 tuner is really, really good. And then, like, it just sets up your first Ignister, which sets up into the second Ignister. And that's just what makes it good. But, like, I don't get why some people play more than one of this, because you only need one and you never want to draw. You always want to search it out. So, yeah. 1 Gigabyte and 1 Nefarious. I kind of cut down on the, like, specials from hand, just because a lot of times you can just blow out specials from the deck. So, you don't need to, like, overload on, like, Gigabytes and Nefarious and stuff. I mainly kept Gigabyte because you can search it if you need to, and then Nefarious turns Gigabyte into a floater, more or less. And there were some games where I set Nefarious out. And then, as I mentioned, when I mentioned the Vector Pendulum, I still play the engine of Armageddon Knight, Blackwing Zephyrus Elite, Shaddoll Dragon, and Breaker the Magical Warrior, and Mathematician. And the reason I play this is that, like, I just like the versatility that it offers. Like, it's potential for bricks, but it also, like, these are monsters that work well in a lot of situations, specifically rank 4s, because I don't like relying on the pendulums for your only rank 4 plays, because, like, then it burns out really quickly. Sometimes you have to use the pendulums as Xyz material, which isn't good, because then they don't go back to the extra deck. And, like, I just didn't like doing that, and this fixes it, because these are all level 4, so, like, they can all be used in rank 4 plays after they've served their purpose. And then, like, Zephyrus combos with Thousand Blades, which I still play. Mathematician can dump everything. It's just, like, this engine I still feel is really, really good. And it's definitely still worth playing, even though, like, it does cause some clumps. Like, it's a lot more cards you have to put in, so I couldn't put Upstart Goblin in this. I tried really hard to keep Upstart in, and I just couldn't. But, like, you run the risk of drawing Shaddoll Dragon and all that stuff, but overall, it's not a bad engine, and, like, they all serve purpose, even if, like, you draw them. Like, even Shaddoll Dragon, if you draw it, it can, like, bait out a warning and then pop another card if, like, you pendulum with it. It's a 1900 beater. Actually, like, when I played the Gradle guy today, he actually took my Gemknight Garnet, so I just summoned Dragon and crashed it into it. So, like, I don't know, I still think this is a really powerful engine to work with. And then math being level 3 sucks, but overall just being able to dump whatever you want is really good. So I still definitely think there's merit to playing this engine, and every time I cut it I end up, like, going back to it just because, like, it's so versatile and I get so many options with it. Like, Thousand Blades especially was really good today, just because it was so easy to get the Trick Clown, and then, like, I was like, oh well, I have Thousand Blades also, or a way to get to it, and then now that's just, like, loads of free rank 4s, and I think that's, like, how this deck does well in the grind game, is just getting a bunch of rank 4s out. And then I put in Photon Thrasher just because you can search it with Rhoda, special summon it, make Bujinti Tsukuyomi for more turbo, and then you can revive it with Mass Chameleon. So, and then 2 Garnet because, like I said, I'm playing Brilliant Fusion, so into the spells, 3 Brilliant Fusion, 3 Foolish Burial. This card's pretty much a blowout whenever you activate it. Like, the more I tested with my roommate, the more we realized that, like, Brilliant Fusion is actually just a blowout whenever it's drawn. And, like, to the point that he actually picked up Brilliant Fusion, like, the day before it spiked in price. Because he just kept seeing me play, and he was like, I need to play that. So, yeah, Brilliant Fusion. And Foolish Burial is, like, the 4th Brilliant Fusion, or, like, I guess in more retrospect, Brilliant Fusion is 3 more copies of Foolish Burial. 3 Waving Eyes, this card is so stupid. I usually, like, if I hit a Pendulum Mirror, I usually ask people if they want to side this out, and so far only, like, 2 people have actually said no. So most of the time I actually side this out in the mirror. As long as they do it too, obviously. 3 Instant Fusion, so I was originally only playing 1 of these, and then, like, at the last second before the event today, I just bumped the card count up to 42 and put in 2 more Instant Fusion. And I think it paid off, because Instant Fusion is also just, like, such a strong card that I like having it as early as possible is really good. And it's just so incredibly powerful, especially with the way I'm playing the deck with more focus on rank 4s, that just having Instant Fusion is really, really strong. And usually you can bait out a Max C beforehand, so, like, you don't have to drop Instant Fusion immediately unless you're in, like, a really bad spot, at which point you got other problems. So, yeah. So I just bumped it up to 42, which also, I guess, like, spaced out a lot of the cards in the deck I don't want to draw. Realistically, not a significant amount, but Also, it's also just like the concept that's like you can space it out a little bit to just like keep some more cards in the deck more often, and then yeah. But yeah, 3 instant fusion worked out. I generally set it out 1 or 2 of them though, and then Rhoda for all the warriors that I run, and then Solemn Vanities. These cards are too good. I was playing Solemn Scolding for a while, but I found that a lot of times I do set other spell cards, particularly like Wavering Eyes, so I just didn't want to have Solemn Scolding because of that. So yeah, that's the main deck. Like I said, 42 cards. And extra deck is one of this Dweller. 1 Bujiki Amaterasu, so I don't have Cypher Lord Omega. I don't intend on buying Cypher Lord Omega because I have other things that I can spend $30 on. And this guy is like almost as good, especially in this where I'm focusing more on just rank 4 spam as opposed to like Turbo Ignister. Bujiki Amaterasu is really good just because on your opponent's turn you can just like put a damage juggler in your hand, and just there's so much good stuff you can do because of that. Like, so especially in the mirror, like you can use damage juggler, make Amaterasu, and then like put it in your hand, and then like if they set up and try to Wavering Eyes, you can just negate it with damage juggler. I will admit I got this idea from, I think the guy who won the MST Open Series was playing this, and I was like, I like this more than Masquerade, and then I like this more than Tellarknight, Ptolemaeus into Pleiades, because it's like instead of like trying to screw with my opponent's game or trying to like situationally OTK them, because most of the times if I can make a scale like a rank 3 material and push for game, I can usually probably make like Trapeze or just wipe their board anyway. So like Masquerade actually just never came up for the resources it took to make it, and like Amaterasu just kind of like pushes my own game forward, and that's why I liked it. And because it's a quick effect, if you summon it and they like respond with like Bottomless or Torrential or something, or if they like try to wipe it on your turn, you can just chain it and put the damage juggler either in your hand or on the board. So I like this card in testing. It so far has been really good. Tsukuyomi, just make with 2 lights and then dump and then draw 2. Came up I think once or twice today and was really good. Castel, Emerald. I originally did not play this because I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to load my graveyard as much, so I don't want to. And then I realized that that's not true because I still load my graveyard a lot because I play a lot of non-pendulums. And then also it revives Garnet for like more damage push. So yeah, that's still really good. Diamond Direwolf, insane. King of the Fairlamps, Ragna Zero. This is... I feel like I shouldn't have to explain the Mirror Conductor Ragna Zero combo. That's just like such a powerful soft block, and it just nets you draws. So like a lot of people at Anaheim weren't playing this, and I don't know why. Like, why would you not play a card that like when another card in your main deck just gives you free draws off of it? Aside from like, it's not really that good against Magispector or Cosmo, but it's like so good against the Mirror and just like any other roguish deck, I guess. Like, I don't know why people wouldn't do that. And then like if you summon it with Dweller, it's 2,900, and it's hard for a lot of things to deal with. So, and then Trapeze Magician, 2 Ignister. I'm actually borrowing one from a friend of mine. So for the longest time, I was only playing 1 Ignister, and then I was playing Diamond Crab King. But 2 of this is just so good that it's like if it weren't for the fact that when we get Breakers of Shadow, we probably won't need 2 Ignister, I would probably pick up a second one because it's just so good. Scrap Dragon. So every time I put Scrap Dragon in an extra deck, I'm never in a situation where I need it. So then I take it out, and then when I take out Scrap Dragon, I find myself in situations where I need it, and then I'm like, well, crap, why did I remove Scrap Dragon? So pretty much like Scrap Dragon just lets you do stuff with Mass Chameleon with non-pendulums. So like if like I want to make a strong monster and I have like a Garnet or something in the graveyard, I can just Mass Chameleon into that and then make Scrap Dragon, and then like it's not as good as Ignister, but it's still really powerful. So I think this is worth playing. It was either this, Stardust, or number 101, and I decided the Scrap Dragon was probably better than them. And then 2 Norden, 1 Seraphonite. I don't really think more than 1 Seraphonite's needed, just because you're really realistically only going to resolve 1 Brilliant Fusion. If you find yourself in this situation where you can resolve a second one, you just Emerald it back. So, but very rarely do I ever find myself needing to resolve 2 Brilliant Fusions. And side deck. 2 Cyber Dragon plus Chimera Tech. I think these should realistically be Cyber Dragon Cores or Cyber Dragon Drays, but I don't think it matters that much. so I don't feel like picking those, so I'm just going to use 2 Cyber Dragons. 3 Max C for the mirror. I was maining 2 of them, and then decided that maining for 1 in 3 decks wasn't worth it. So, yeah. Raigeki for Rogue and going second against the mirror. And then 2 Grandhorn for the mirror, for Magispector, for anything that does inherent summons and stuff like that. Iron Wall for Cosmo and Infernoid. And then Decree for back row. Except for Hero. For some reason, this doesn't really like me in Hero. Like when playing as Hero, probably because they run so much spell back row, so it just straight doesn't matter. So, yeah. I could change these into like Denko Sekas, but I don't really feel like buying Denko Seka. So, Decree works just as well. And yeah, that's the deck profile. It works really well, obviously because I went undefeated with it today. And yeah, I don't really know how much it's going to change until we get Breakers of Shadow, at which point it's going to be a lot different because of Clash of the Draco Rivals, the Performapal engine, possibly Performapal, Pendulum Wizard. Like, the only thing I would add before Breakers of Shadow is Skullcrobat Joker when it comes out in the Magician Structure deck, but when we get that Structure deck, I'm going to build Magicians, so yeah. That's the next deck profile I'm going to make, is going to be Magicians at the end of next week. So yeah, just look forward to that, and thanks for watching YouTube, and I'll see you next time. Deuces.